You're listening to Sensitive Changemakers. This podcast is created for highly sensitive leaders and is designed to support you to embrace your strengths and gifts so you can feel more confident in your own mind and body and live a life with intention, purpose, and more importantly, joy. I'm your host, Kate Carter, a fellow HSP who has a BA Honours degree in education, is a fully trained and qualified professional coach and NLP practitioner, and has over 17 years of teaching and over 3 years of coaching experience supporting highly sensitive people. I believe that you can do anything you want to in this life, but that sometimes the path forward becomes muddy with self-doubt and fear of failure. It's my mission to help sensitive thought leaders peel away the self-doubt and stories holding them back, for them to see their own beauty and strength so they can increase self-confidence and self-trust through thought and embodiment work and see their path clearly and move forward confidently, living their life with intention and purpose. I would love for you to come and join us. Hello and welcome to another episode of Sensitive Changemakers. This is the podcast where we explore the unique challenges and remarkable strengths of highly sensitive people. I'm your host, Kate Carter, and today we are diving into a topic that is really kind of close to my heart and something that has become more and more evident the last few weeks. And it's all about the importance of identity when creating change, especially for us as highly sensitive leaders. So for those people who follow the podcast, you will know that I've been on holiday. We went to the Isle of Wight, which is, for those people who don't know, just a little island just off the south of England. You have to get a ferry over, which makes you feel like you're going on holiday with, like, going abroad on holiday without actually going abroad. And it was a holiday that we went on to, first of all, when Sophie was not even a year old. She was just kind of up to a year old. And it was a great sort of introduction into a little bit of a further away holiday, if that makes sense, just because we had to go on the ferry. And it gave the kids a wonderful experience of going on a boat and just enjoying seeing something a little bit different. And we've been going back. I think this is our sixth time of being back. We were really lucky that we went with my parents and just had a wonderful time. There was, a bit of rain, a bit of wind, a bit of sun, as you can imagine with our weather, but we still managed to spend some fantastic time on the beach and just really enjoy ourselves. And the reason that this came up while I was away was because of two particular events that happened in the Isle of Wight. The first one was my son, who turned 14 while we were away, wanted to go to a water park while we were there. Now, I can swim, but I don't feel a very confident swimmer. I don't like getting water in my face. It really disorientates me and just kind of doesn't panic me, but I lose where I am just for a couple of seconds while I'm trying to get the water out of my face. And he wanted to go to this water park, which in effect was like an obstacle course on a lake. And he had to wear like a wetsuit. And if it had just been Jake, it wouldn't have been a problem. We would have all been able to kind of watch from the sides. But because Sophie wanted to go as well, and she's under the age of 11, they literally said in the rules that they needed an adult to participate with her. And I said to my husband, I can't do that, because if I'm going in there with the sole purpose of looking after Sophie, if I get water in my eyes, I won't know where she is for the first kind of 5-10 seconds. And so I said no to that, and I felt quite bad because I don't normally say no and put kind of such a strong focus on the word no, especially within family and especially with doing something with my son for his birthday. But that one I felt like completely out of my comfort zone, which brings me to the second activity or the second event, which was later that week on the Friday, where my husband said, let's all go on a kayak onto the sea. And I was like, oh, okay. Again, this feels completely out of my comfort zone. We're still on water. I love water. I absolutely love water. But again, I'm not great in water if it's kind of gets in my face or splashes. And I know that that is something I struggle with. But I was like, okay, I've already said no once this week. How can I change the way that I see this so that I feel more confident going with this and having a go? And I did. And as soon as I actually saw the kayak and got sorted, and it wasn't one of those where I had to trap my feet in, because that was one of the things that was worrying me. I actually changed the way that I saw it, identified more with somebody who goes kayaking, like, yeah, I go kayaking, got on the sea and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was such a beautiful experience. So I'm so, so glad that I did. But it got me thinking about how, especially as highly sensitive leaders, and I know I'm overemphasizing the point here of being splashed in the face, but I think it's a really great metaphor for how highly sensitive people can see the world. You know, we can see the world as really loud and in your face and completely overwhelming and just disorientating sometimes, which is how I feel when the water goes in my face. Bear with me on the metaphor. Um, and I think sometimes because of that, we can often restrict what we do without even realizing we're doing it. We live very much, or we can live very much in our comfort zone and not stretch that bubble of our comfort zone to see what else we can do. And I learned so much about myself by doing this small little activity that I would never have thought I'd be able to do. And I wanted to kind of share that with you and give you some insights into how I view this and what you can do. And I really hope it helps. So I personally think that I was limiting my experiences because I limited my identity. So, like I said, took a really deeper breath in this situation and really enjoyed the freedom and accomplishment through doing this new activity. And I really did practice. It was only for a bit. And I suppose I've been doing this in different ways for a quite a number of years. So I suppose it's something I wouldn't say that comes easily to me, but I'm able to tap into, okay, I've got the tools and techniques to be able to see myself differently in this situation. How can I embrace this? How can I feel more confident in attempting something new? And how can I learn more about myself in this process? And it really did bring it home to me, like I said, that identity shapes our actions. And when we expand our identity, we really do open ourselves up to new opportunities and growth. So, as I said, most of us, as highly sensitive people, do feel really overwhelmed and anxious at the thought of stepping outside our comfort zones because the world can be incredibly noisy and overwhelming. Um, and so, how can we embrace an identity to create positive change? So I've got some steps here that I really kind of want you to think about. So the first one is really, it's always awareness. It's always looking at where we currently are. So acknowledging your current identity, really taking some time to reflect on how you currently see yourself. Right, maybe write some ideas down, maybe some stories that you associate with your identity, and then look at those really as objectively as you possibly can so that you can kind of see the woods for the trees and go, oh, that one's quite limiting. That identity that I have of myself is quite limiting. It only allows me to do X, Y, and Z, for example, and just kind of just get an awareness around where are the beliefs and stories that you've got about yourself that limit you from doing new things or trying new things. And once you've got that, you can start looking at questioning them and maybe challenging them. Um, if it depends on how deep you want to go with this, but you can kind of just think about, okay, well, where did they come from? Is that really my voice? Is it a fear? Is it something that is realistic? Can I shift it? Can I change it? Can I view that differently? And just kind of seeing maybe those stories that you have or those kind of limiting stories that you have about yourself, maybe seeing them in a different light, looking at them as not a truth, but just a pattern, like something that you've created over time. Like I did, yes, very much so. I'm not overly keen on water being splashed in my face, but that doesn't mean that I can't view myself as somebody who goes in the water, as somebody that enjoys getting on water in different ways. So even though that there is a slight, I wouldn't even call it necessarily a fear because it's not something that truly scares me, but something that um does put me off. It's one of those things that pops up and goes, oh, yeah. But what I was playing around here was, yeah, I've got this worry about this X, Y, and Z, in this case, water in my face, but I can still see myself as somebody enjoying time on the water, as somebody who can, in this situation, go kayaking and enjoy that event and that situation. So really kind of just playing around with what yours are and seeing if you can expand who you see yourself as being. How can you imagine yourself embracing new roles and activities? Now, there might be something specific that you really want to embrace, that you really want to move towards. And visualization here is a great way of doing that. So, really like seeing yourself succeeding in that situation, whatever it is that you want to kind of move towards or embrace. How does it feel? What does it look like? Tapping into those senses is so important because it kind of brings a truth to it that may not be there otherwise. Really fleshing that out. And I think the key thing for anybody doing that is really seeing yourself in that and feeling good doing it. Um, and just seeing how you feel as you go through that. And then the next part is really taking some small steps because I mean, maybe my example here isn't a great one because mine was, I think, quite a big step, which was just go for it. Yeah, we'll just go for it. Um, but depending on where you are on your journey, taking small steps is always a fantastic thing to do because it just means that you're not exasperating your nervous system, you're not sort of becoming dysregulated, you're doing it in very small steps and then you're kind of normalizing that new step before you then move on to the next step, etc. And just making sure that you're continually putting that. Sometimes it's just a baby step, isn't it? Just constantly moving forward and seeing yourself differently, getting used to seeing yourself differently, practicing that visualization. Maybe for the first part, your small step is just visualizing yourself doing that thing, whatever it is, expanding your comfort zone, trying something new or different, embracing whatever that change is that you want to make, and just visualizing yourself doing it over and over again until you feel like, yeah, okay, what's the next step? And for example, if you were let's take the example of water. If it was something you're really scared of, you might just go paddling in the water for a bit. That might be your next step. And that brings me on to a couple of things I think are really important. Celebrating your progress. If you know me at all, you know that I'm a huge believer in celebrating your progress, even if it is just I've got a win book somewhere in my study where I just literally write down all of the wins that I see. And they may not be very big wins for anybody else, but they're big wins for me because they mean a shift in the way that I've thought about something, the shift in the way that I see something, the way that I see myself. And so writing those down becomes really important. It might be, you might sort of celebrate in a different way, whatever feels good to you, but celebrating those progress. Or your progress is so important here, and no matter how small. In fact, I think the smaller your celebration sometimes, the more powerful it can be because you're seeing that even the babiest of baby steps is a really, really important step for you. And then finally, seeking support. Really do reach out and find supportive people who encourage your growth. Sharing your goals and experiences with them. And sometimes just having that outside perspective can really help support you in seeing yourself in a new light. So really having that support could be so fantastic. And I think it's important here just to kind of remind ourselves that changing the way that we see ourselves doesn't mean becoming somebody else. It actually means becoming more of who you truly are, because a lot of the reasons that we don't embrace things outside of our comfort zone or even on the kind of periphery of our comfort zone is because there's a lot of fear and doubt there. And fear and doubt really does keep us in our comfort zone because obviously, if we go back to kind of caveman style, that was what kept us alive. But we no longer live in that kind of society. And so we are able to embrace new activities without a life-death situation. And so just really embracing the fact that this doesn't mean you'll become a completely different person. It actually means you're embracing somebody that was always there, peeling away those layers of self-doubt and fear to reveal who you really are, your authentic self. And I think as a highly sensitive person, your depth of feeling and empathy are incredible strengths here. And by embracing a more expansive identity, you can really leverage these strengths to create meaningful change in your life and the life of others. So if you really are one of those people that likes to positively impact those around you, this is something to really look at and make step towards. So I would really encourage you to try this out and to let me know how you get on with it. And the identity piece that we're talking about here is something that I'm going to be talking quite a lot about in our new free three-part series, which is all about releasing anxiety. So if you feel you're quite anxious, you feel quite overwhelmed, and you're really looking for lasting peace and calm, then this is for you. So I've always kind of had the perspective that quite a lot of anxiety support focuses solely on changing thought patterns and talk therapy, which is such an important part of the puzzle. But I also believe that when you're looking at creating lasting change, especially if you're looking at reducing anxiety permanently, we need to really address the body and the emotions as well. So our bodies remember past experiences just as much as our mind does. And so when we're looking at doing any kind of permanent healing, we really need to look at the big picture holistically, look at what we need to release from both the body and the mind, to really support you in having that permanent release rather than just a quick fix. And so in this three-part series, it's going to be split up into 3 sessions. Session 1 is going to be all about feelings. So learning to identify and understanding emotions driving your anxiety, discovering techniques to process and release trapped emotions that are contributing to that anxiety. And we're going to be looking at methods to manage emotional responses and build resilience. Session 2 is all going to be about thought patterns. So this is the more kind of traditional way of looking at anxiety relief. And we're going to be looking at negative thought patterns or unhelpful thought patterns that fuel that anxiety, techniques to cultivate positive, supportive thoughts, and engaging in mindful exercises. So the third one is all about this embodying your true self. So this is where we're talking about your being, who you are as a person, your identity, understanding how your sense of self influences your anxiety. So understanding how the way you view yourself, the way you see who you are as a person can actually impact on feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, etc. We're going to really look at body-based practices to help you to reconnect with your true self. And we're going to learn techniques to embody a deeper sense of who you are beneath the anxiety. So very much what I was talking about earlier about just because we're shifting how we see ourselves doesn't mean we're becoming a completely different person. It actually means we're embracing the person that we always were when we take back, when we peel back those fears, those doubts, and in this case, that anxiety. And so if that feels like something that is up your street, that's something that you would like to really learn more about and embrace, then there is a link. I'll put the link in the show notes. It's all on my social media as well. So please do sign up for that. And as a special thank you for joining the series, you will have a chance to win a free personalized anxiety-free session, where we'll get to the root of how you're feeling, the anxiety, the overwhelm, and equip you with a personal toolkit for a lasting relief. So that just goes into a bit more personal detail and really supports you in finding your way forward. So if that is something that you're interested in, please do join us. It would be fantastic. It is going to be, I'm just trying to get the date right now. It's going to be August, and I think I've got it down for the second week in August. So we've got a couple more weeks before we start. So please do come and join us for that. And I would just like to say thank you so much for joining me today. You may hear that my voice is a little bit croaky. I think I've done quite well. I have had to pause this twice to have a bit of a coughing fit, but we're getting there. I just caught a cold when we came back off holiday. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But anyway, just getting over that and feeling like I'm not quite as bunged up, but I still have If you know me at all, you will know that I get this quite often. I get a ridiculous tickly cough once I get over any kind of cold. So I'm at that stage at the moment. Very frustrating for my family, but getting there. So thank you so much for joining me on here. I hope it's been really supportive and helpful. If you have found it helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, share it with others who might benefit so that we can really reach more highly sensitive leaders and ensure that they're really embracing their strengths and thriving. So until next time, embrace your sensitivity, step into your power, and live with intention and joy. And I will be back next week with another episode. Sending you so much love. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you have any takeaways or any questions, please do reach out to me either through Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook at Kate Carter Coaching, or you can email me at kate@katecarter.co.uk. I always love to hear your feedback and the things that you have taken from the podcast. If you know of any other highly sensitive people, then please do share this so that I can reach more and support more highly sensitive people to embrace their strengths and gifts. As a thank you, I will pick a winner every month for a free 50-minute coaching session with me. Thank you so much.